Hello everyone, welcome to Adventures in Good Health, the place where we discuss natural approaches to healthy living. I'm your host, David Maloof. Natural approaches to good health. It doesn't get any more natural than light. Now, when I think of light and I think of health, I'm thinking, okay, so sunlight, vitamin D, that's all good. What else does it do? Well, apparently, light can help a lot. So today, we're going to discuss a term called photobiomodulation. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I'm a little unfamiliar. It's definitely a topic we've never discussed on this podcast. So I think it's a good idea if we talk to an expert. So my guest today is Darlene Green. Darlene is a retired Navy commander. She is also a health and GHK-CU and stem cell activation technology consultant. Ooh, that is a mouthful, but Darlene has a very interesting story to share. Don't forget to press subscribe and notification. That really helps the channel. All right, let's jump right into our conversation with Darlene Green. Hello, Darlene. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. It's so great to be here.
So, Darlene, I would just like to have you walk through your journey, just to introduce yourself to our audience.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I'm a U.S. Navy retired commander. I have been interested in health for quite some time. I think I started my journey into health way back in 1996 when I was first diagnosed with what was called chronic fatigue syndrome. Then it's often referred to as Epstein-Barr virus now. And then in 1999, fibromyalgia, and then actually before that, thyroid disease, and then POTS was in 2005, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia. And so those are all autoimmune disorders. And so in order to stay healthy, I really had to do, there's no medicine, there's no cure, pharmaceuticals or anything of that nature. Although for the POTS, one of the things that happens with POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia, is you just don't get enough blood to the brain. And so you black out and you pass out. And I had hit my head twice. And once on the bathtub, once on the corner of a wall.
Ouch. Ooh.
Really could
that's dangerous.
It really is dangerous. And so they basically prescribed a medicine called fluorocortisol to actually increase my blood pressure to get enough blood to the brain so I wouldn't black out and pass out. That just sounds like a bad idea, to take a blood pressure medicine to increase your blood pressure. And I looked for alternatives and said, is there really nothing else? And they said, well, you could take in a lot of salt. And I did that, and that wasn't enough. So I was having to take this medicine, this fluorocortisol. All that to say, I've done a lot of investigative work into health and had done a pretty good job of staying healthy, kind of white knuckling my way through good diet and exercise, not necessarily always enjoying it. And I'm a self-proclaimed sugar and salt addict to boot. So it's not been easy, but I've done it. That said, I was still having to take the fluorocortisol. I did still have the POTS, and I had tried a lot of different things. But what really launched me on this journey was my husband's diagnosis of early Alzheimer's. And that was a game changer, right? That is okay, wow, what do we do about that? And the decline was rapid. So my husband has the APOE4/4 gene type, which means he's got the gene from both parents. And he went from stage 2, which is mild cognitive impairment, to stage 6A, which is adult toddler age 5, unable to dress himself, in 2 years.
Okay, so I take it that's not typical.
That is
sounds
not
very
typical.
Rapid.
That is very, very rapid. Early Alzheimer's is more rapid than regular Alzheimer's, early for some reason. And normally that progression would take 11 to 13 years. So 2 years is lightning speed.
And now a quick word from our sponsor, Dr. Tate's Herbal Tinctures and Tonics. Dr. Tate's offers the Herbal Blood Tonic, Doc's Detox, Herbal Male Tonic, Herbal Female Tonic, and the Herbal Fat Burner. If you would like to order your tonics or learn more information, you can go to drtates.online. And if you click the link in the description and enter the special promo code Adventures in Good Health 2024, you will receive 10% off your entire order. For more information, click the links below. And now back to the show.
And David, we were at a place 10 months ago where he was not even talking anymore. He was not engaging in conversation. It was just too hard. And he was no longer even trying to be funny. So he wasn't his personality anymore. Mm-hmm. He was sleeping the day away, like 3.5 hours in the day, and then falling asleep at 7 at night. And it was, it's a very sad and heartbreaking disease. To make matters worse, as the care provider, I missed the last 3 steps of our staircase, fell and broke my foot, sprained my ankle, popped a ligament, and was in excruciating pain. And it took 5 months before we got me to surgery to get that repaired. So I fell into a pretty significant depression. I was sad that my husband had Alzheimer's, sad at the state of his being. I could not, if I asked him for a glass of ice water, he really couldn't do that. It was just,
So were you bedridden?
I was not. I was in a chair I was working from home, really in a chair, hobbling around, crutches and such. But it was just, you're dealing with a 67-year-old man and you want to say, can you just bring me water? Right, just water, and that's just beyond them. So I was sad. I just wanted to cry every single day. I wanted to cry from pain. I wanted to cry from just sadness. It was finally all catching up to me that we really are in this space. I think I spent a lot of the beginning years really fighting. We went out of country 4 times to get IV stem cells. And everything I read and researched pointed to stem cells, and this was the answers. And of course, you can't get the placenta stem cells here, and so we went out of country and we did that. And I did it too because I'm hoping to help my autoimmune disorders. Didn't experience any benefits. 4 times and $10,000 in IV each. So it was very expensive, and then didn't experience anything. That made me sad, but we tried hyperbaric chamber, we tried blood ozone therapy. We also really changed our diet, which had always been pretty good, but we really cleaned it up a few years ago when we got the diagnosis. We did no alcohol, no soda, no sugar, no white flour, and only the best of extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil. Any of the others were just thrown out. And we made sure we were organic, and we were doing vegetables, and we were following Dr. Bredeson's protocol, and all the things. Working on sleep, getting daily exercise, working with a trainer on muscle work, just all the things to say, my body's alive, keep working for me, and keep doing the right things to stay alive, right? And the decline just continued to just plummet, right? So it was about the time I was just actually in the week before surgery for my ankle when my friend said, I know you've done stem cells and I know you know the power of stem cells. I've been doing something for my family that has transformed our family and our health across the board. And I really would love it if you would try it because I think it could help you. And I was like, sure, I'm in. I
would think at that point you're ready to.
What do I have to lose, right?
You're ready to go. I
have nothing to lose. I've tried everything that's out there. Even the best medicine that they offered for Alzheimer's causes brain bleeds in 50% of my husband's gene type of that APOE44. That's a bad idea. So sure, I'm ready to try anything. And that first week that we tried this stem cell activating technology, it's a tiny little patch. It looks like the size of a quarter. There's no medicine in it. It's not like putting medicine in your body. We'll talk about how it works in a second. But we started wearing this patch. And David, the very first week, from day one, my husband did not take that 3.5-hour nap. He did not fall asleep at 7 o'clock at night. He was very engaging in conversation. he was talking up a storm, like a dam broke, and wow, he had all these things to say. And he was with it. He was making sense. He was also trying to be funny again, which is his personality. So he was funny, he was flirty, he was back to being Jim again. So that happened very quickly. The second week, he got the best sleep he had gotten, and we'd been working on sleep for a really long time. We even put red lights in our bathroom, and we dim the lights, and we wouldn't eat 3 hours before bed, and all the things, right? We were still only getting 15 minutes of deep sleep, which is really critical for people with Alzheimer's, because deep sleep, REM sleep's important, all sleep's important, but deep sleep for him is when the brain detoxes and the fluids flow the opposite direction, right? We got to
exactly.
So we were working on that, and we were at 15 minutes of deep sleep in spite of all of these efforts. And I was so frustrated. And the second week, he got 1 hour and 20 minutes of deep sleep. So all these good things started to happen. His blood pressure dropped 37 points over about 5 weeks. He regained the ability to whistle and to drum, and his sense of smell, which he lost 15 years ago, and it's an early warning indicator for Alzheimer's when it's not related to COVID or a virus or something. He lost his sense of smell. That came back at the 5-month mark and wearing the patches. His bald spot closed in, dark hair started coming in. I actually have to tell you, not only was he experiencing these great benefits, but I was too. And as a care provider, it's hard to say how hard care providing is for someone with Alzheimer's. It's almost like if you aren't doing it and you aren't a care provider for someone with Alzheimer's, you'll never get it. It's just hard, and it's heartbreaking. And every day is you're balancing trying to stay happy and joy-filled with the grief of losing the loved one a little at a time. Like you don't even have time to grieve, really, right? You're working, you're doing all the things. But my broken foot, my autoimmune, all of my issues were at a height, and I began patching. Well, the first thing was there's a patch called Ice Wave that got me out of pain. That was huge.
Okay, now one more time. What was this patch called?
It's called Ice Wave. It's a 2-patch system. And these are working on light and energy, and we'll talk again about how in a bit, but the Ice Wave removes pain. It's better than Percocet, Vicodin, any kind of medicine I have ever taken. This helped tremendously. And in fact, there's a guy is off his morphine and was off his morphine from using Ice Wave initially right away. So it's really phenomenal. So that helped get me out of pain. That was huge. But the second thing was I have not had to take fludrocortisol, that medicine to raise my blood pressure, since I started the patches 10 months ago. I have not had any episodes of fainting or passing out. And I've been playing pickleball in Arizona in the summer even. That's amazing to me. I really wanted to be able to do that. I stopped having regular headaches. My rosacea cleared up, something the dermatologist had not been able to fix in years. My sunspot cleared. My skin became soft. I no longer had to travel with a tub of Cetaphil cream because my skin was always like a lizard. Even when I wasn't living in Arizona, it was just always so dry. And now it's not dry. It's really, really soft. I lost weight effortlessly because I think my hormones balanced, and the things start working. And when your stem cells go to work for you, they just go in and they repair things that you don't even know why you've got these issues or these challenges. My body aches from fibromyalgia went away. I no longer had any symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome. Really, I became feeling great. But the best thing is it lifted me out of my depression. It just disappeared. And I had energy, I had gratitude, I was joy-filled, and that makes me a better care provider. I can really be patient. I can be my best self every day for my husband. And I love that too. I also stopped stress eating. And I will tell you, there's a patch specifically that helps hunger and sugar cravings that has been life-changing for me, because that sugar salt addict where I've white-knuckled my way through eating healthy my whole life, even though it's been really hard. I had to do it when I was in the 20-year Navy, retired commander. I had to be exercising and staying sort of trim and fit in the Navy. But I will tell you, it wasn't easy, and I didn't enjoy it. It was just always really hard for me. And this patch just takes away all of the agony. It's just easy. I don't have the hunger cravings. I don't have the sugar cravings. I'm able to intermittent fast easily. I'm able to eat when I'm hungry, eat until I'm satiated, and then stop. And then I'm fine. I'm not reaching. I'm not standing in front of the pantry looking for the comfort food. I'm not stress eating in front of the fridge, even though I'm not really hungry. So all of these things were just a tremendous difference. And so it was not only life-changing for me and for my husband, but, we got my parents on it, my sister's chronic microscopic colitis that had been there for 6 years, and she'd done IV and antibiotics
Right.
and steroids and all of it. Nothing worked, and this helped her in 3 weeks' time restore gut health, and also helped her no longer experience any symptoms of plantar fasciitis, which she had for a while. So it just does all these amazing things. So how does it do this? I mean, that's really the question, right? Well, how does this?
Because it sounds like it's really affected. I mean, it's really had a lot of benefit to you and your husband.
It has, and I want to say clearly, like, the products are not intended to cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent disease. Even if they do, we're a general wellness product, like a Band-Aid, because nothing is going in the skin. But it's working through light therapy, and light therapy has been studied for 5,000 years. It has been more recently in the mainstream: blue light therapy, red light therapy, infrared light therapy. All of these have become a lot more well known and understood, and lots of studies have been done to show their efficacy. But in this particular case, what this patch is doing is very similar to when you go out in the sun. Your body gets a light signal and it makes vitamin D.
Right.
That's called photobiomodulation. Similarly, your body makes melanin, which is, your body responding to light to protect itself and to do good things. That's photobiomodulation too. So what this patch does is it elevates, basically, you have light inside of you. So if I looked at you with night vision goggles on, there's heat, there's the light signature. So this patch is like a little mirror. It's a hermetically sealed nanocrystal structure that's reflecting your own light back into you at a very specific wavelength that elevates this wonderful copper peptide known as GHKCU. And I had never heard of GHKCU before. It is actually a very well-studied peptide. If you look at PubMed, you can find all the studies on it, and you'll find that it does everything from increase stem cells and produce growth factors to have tremendous anti-cancer benefits, resetting programmed cell death of human cancer cells, neuroblastoma, leukemia, even breast cancer cells, but not affecting healthy cells. It inhibits the things that promote cancer, and it repairs damaged DNA. It even resets 84 genes to that growth or cancer inhibition state. So amazing stuff. Skin and hair, you actually can kind of see all of my little sprouts. They're just too short to sit down, but they're there. And then it also has amazing effects for brain and heart. So it reduces fibrinogen synthesis, which is the top predictor of cardiovascular disease, and it increased myostatin, which inhibits heart failure. So GHKCU is very well studied. So when you use this patch, this X39 patch, you are elevating your GHKCU. So you get the benefits of all of the GHKCU. Most people will tell you they get rapid pain relief, they get reduced inflammation, they have wound healing support, they have more energy and vitality, mental clarity, enhanced sports performance, faster recovery from exercise, which has been huge for me because as someone with fibromyalgia, I had to really watch it when I would exercise, or I would just not be able to walk the next day. I don't have to think about it anymore. I can push myself really as hard as I want to, and I recover really nicely. Also improves skin appearance, which is great. This patch in 24 hours resets your genes to a younger and healthier state within the first 24 hours. So it's getting to work and doing cellular repair. And I will tell you this, the neat thing about X39 is that you can have this patch on your skin and you wear it 12 hours on and then 12 hours off, you can have it outside on the outside of a sweatshirt. It's still going to work. So there are autistic children have sensory problems, right? They can't have things touching them.
Things touching.
Right. And so the parents just put it on the outside of their clothing and they don't know it's there, and they experience amazing benefits.
All right. So now the computer geek in me is going to be asking a couple questions. Is it electronic, or is it, you said it's reflecting
light?
It sounds like infrared light.
It's light. It's infrared light at a very specific wavelength, and they sort of patented this, and they won't share what wavelength specifically that is, or other people would want to do it as well. Well, anybody would, right? It's light.
So the research that I've done on photobiomodulation is that the idea is that it affects certain wavelengths of light, and some wavelengths of light don't seem to have any benefits, but there's very specific range, like in the infrared.
Right. Right.
What you're saying is that these patches, they take the light, which is the infrared heat or infrared light that's coming from your own body, which your cells produce, and it's reflecting it back into the body. So does it matter where you put the patch?
No. Well, different patches, different answer. So X39, no, doesn't matter where you put it. And this is the patch everyone starts with. This is the mama patch. This patch kind of does everything all the other patches do except Ice Wave, the pain patch. It will work slowly. A lot of us don't have time, and so we add supplementary patches that augment other systems and elevate other peptides, or elevate other things, epithalamum, glutathione, improve mitochondrial health, those kinds of things. But this patch you can place anywhere. The studies have it behind the back of the neck or below the belly button, so there's a little brochure that you get, and it says here's where you should put it. But you can put it anywhere. In fact, when you add the anti-inflammation patch, which is called EON, so inflammation eats up stem cells, and so if you're just doing X39, it will reduce inflammation over time, but it will take longer. It's just a faster bang for your buck when you reduce the inflammation. This was the number one selling patch before X39 came out 4 years ago. The company's been around 20 years, over 90 clinical studies on the patches and their efficacy. But when you reduce the inflammation while you increase your stem cell activity, now you really get the best bang for the buck faster, and people start to feel a difference really quickly. I mean, I didn't know, and maybe you did, but even in all my research, I never read or heard about the fact that when you're 30, half of your stem cells are dormant, and when you're 60, they're almost all dormant. I'm 59. So before starting the patch, almost all of my stem cells were dormant. But now, after patching, really it's a month for every decade you are old. By the time you patch a month for every decade you are old, you have activated all your stem cells again. So I am firing on all cylinders, working with stem cells that are all back and activated and working for me. And when our stem cells aren't working for us, that's why we're aging, and that's why we're healing very slowly. That's why kids heal so much faster. They bounce back. They just have it all going for them because they have so many more stem cells.
So you mentioned that over 90 studies.
Over 90 clinical studies.
90 clinical studies have been done specifically on the patches.
Yes, there's a wonderful study, David. There's pictures of it on my website. You can actually see the EEGs that were done. A brain study, and there's like circles of red, and the red stands for inflammation and hypercoherence, ADHD, PTSD, anger, anxiety, all of the things that are causing problems for us. That was taken before they started wearing X39. 3 weeks later, you have session 2. They were in the X39 only, 12 hours on and 12 hours off, and the color map changes. You can see the introduction of the greens and the blues and the yellows and all of these beautiful colors, and people begin reporting, I'm less anxious, and I seem to have better memory and focus. And then at the 6-week point, even better color map, better results, and the findings of that double-blind placebo-controlled studies were this. Yes, it increased GHKCU, and they tested that in the blood, but it also supported cell and nerve regeneration. It balanced the brain. It improved coherence. It improved the nervous system. It lowered anxiety. it decreased brain inflammation, and it improved memory, focus, cognitive brain function, and improved task processing ease and speed. All of those things I got to see happen in my husband in the first week. All of those things I got to experience myself, that lifting of depression. In fact, people stop taking their ADHD medicines. People stop having to take antidepressants. People are lifted out of suicidal states because of these. And so as a military veteran, there is not enough we can do for mental health in the world, particularly for our veterans, but really for so many people, not even service members, right? There are so many people suffering with mental health. And what better than this patch that improves both mental health and physical health? Let me tell you about a heart study. Well, it's actually a cardiovascular. Well, it's actually a vascular study. But in that 6-week study, they found that the cardiovascular system began functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger. And I believe that cardiovascular repair work is what helped me to not have to take the medicine anymore. I think it just fixed my vascular system from head to toe and optimized it so that I did get enough blood to the brain so I don't pass out anymore. Doctors will tell you there's no cure to POTS and no cure to fibromyalgia and no cure to chronic fatigue syndrome. But I'm here to tell you I experience no symptoms of any of them any longer because stem cells are the body's raw materials. They can do anything. They were what made us to begin with. They can become bone or ligament, or they can become cartilage or brain or lungs or heart or kidney or liver, whatever they need to be. They can trigger apoptosis so that old cell death and get rid of that old stuff and bring in new and fresh and reduce inflammation. So, there's nothing I don't think stem cells can do, particularly if they're brought in early enough. I'm not here to tell you that, my husband is not cured from Alzheimer's by a long stretch. He's still 6A phase and stage, and very much, and he very likely will continue down the degrading, progressive path of Alzheimer's. I think, though, had we gotten a hold of this, 3 years ago, when we first got the diagnosis, when he was still in a mild cognitive impairment state, we could have had a very different outcome. And that's not to say that we're not experiencing great benefit right now, because we are, but it could have potentially reversed the course. I think stem cells can do anything. Yeah. In fact, there's
Go ahead.
Well, there's just a Dr. Joseph Peck, who's an anesthesiologist and a 40-year physician, who says, this is the most significant medical breakthrough in my lifetime. And I think that's significant. It's like changing the course of medicine.
So the thing about stem cells, and I found very interesting, is personally, I had never heard of stem cells until Michael J. Fox testified in front of Congress. I don't know how many years ago. Was that 15 years ago? It seemed like he testified before Congress about the benefits. It got political really fast, as so often things in the United States do. Our medical establishment in this country tends to be very conservative, and I was shocked. I had a guest on several weeks ago on this show, and he was talking about his experience with stem cells. He had to go to Mexico.
I did too.
And I was like, what do you mean you had to go to Mexico? I thought this has been around for quite some time. Right. He goes, no, there's a little bit of stuff that's being done in the United States, but if you want to go to the more advanced, you got to go to other countries. And I was like, okay, so we are really behind the times in a lot of things. When I was doing some research on the light therapy in general, photobiomodulation, the medical establishment in this country still classifies the light therapy as, quote, experimental, which is not surprising.
Right.
We talk on this show about alternative medicines. I mean, even herbal treatments that have 5,000 years of history is experimental. and so, if we just relied solely on the American medical establishment, which I'm sure they do a lot of wonderful things. I'm not here to bash anyone, but if we relied solely on that, progress would be extremely slow. And I really wonder what other technologies that we rely on today would never have even come to the light of day. No pun intended. So I appreciate what you're telling us. The one other statement I would say in my research is in the light medicine. One of the comments I read was, well, we know that it helps. We know it does certain things. It has certain mechanisms, but it seems to help in other ways. We're just not quite sure. Almost that exact same statement was made, me doing a research from a guest a few weeks ago on Ritalin. So they were coming on the show talking about alternatives to Ritalin. So I didn't know that much about Ritalin, so I was doing some research. And it said, well, it does this and it does this. It seems to do this, but we're not quite sure. I was like, that was approved 70 freaking years ago.
Right.
So medical science, there's limits to our current medical science that really can just put crossing every T and dotting every I that says exactly what it does. And I just thought it was really interesting. They were making the same statements about the light therapy. So clearly something is there, and it sounds like it's been a game changer, a life changer for you.
Yes, and so many others. I mean, you can almost, there's nothing that you can't name that I don't have or see testimonials on. And it's everything from, your A1C dropping, acid reflux disappearing in 2 days, Parkinson tremors since 5 disappearing in 3 weeks, anxiety, arthritis, blood pressure, bone density improving, muscles getting stronger, lean mass getting stronger, and body fat dropping, and that can be maybe just getting rid of the inflammation is huge on that. Just balancing the hormones can be huge for that, but there are obviously other things that it's doing as well. But things including dyslexia. I talked about autism. My friend has a severely it's not autism in her childhood, that she's treated like 5 other children that were autistic, but it's a severe rare genetic disorder. And her child went from kindergarten through to 4th grade academically and behaviorally in 5 weeks. And in 15-day mark, never had to take their ADHD medicine again, and had been literally like bouncing since in the womb, since basically coming out and being even asleep. This child was constantly jittering. People have had amazing success with herniated discs, bulging disc that's not operable, no surgery, no medicine, nothing can fix that. And you can see a picture on my website of someone's back that's just looking really good. Lung cancer, you've got 4 to 6 months to live. Sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. 5 months later, there is no lung cancer. Agent Orange veteran with leukemia, my friend's cousin, told, we're going to give you this pill, it's going to kill you, we're sorry, but you're going to die, but your quality of life will be better through to the end. Sold his cows, made all the arrangements to be ready to die, was in bed, round-the-clock pain meds, 3 days on the patches, was out of bed, off the pain meds, 2 weeks was traveling, bought all of his cows back, has had all sorts of success in his white cell count. So he's living a good quality life. We've got people that have had there was a study done with 3 of our patches, the glutathione patch. We should talk about glutathione in a bit, because glutathione is amazing. With the glutathione and the Eon on either side of the knee, and then the X39, and they found that 100% of the people who were scheduled to have knee surgery, none of them had knee surgery. None of them needed it. Their growth of cartilage and the improvement in pain reduction was so substantial. So you just can't even... There's just nothing I can tell you that this won't help. I will say that when I found out about it, initially I was just like, sure, I'll try whatever. When I read about the clinical studies, I was like, well, that's really impressive. And then when I found out that there were over 300 Olympic athletes wearing the patches in the 2008 Olympics, I was kind of mad. Like, well, where the heck has this
So this
been?
has been around for a while.
Yes. So now the X39 is 4 years old, but the very first patch was 20 years ago. Energy enhancers was the patch that probably those Olympic athletes were wearing in the 2008 Olympics because it improved their performance and improved their rapid recovery. And we're talking Serena Williams, David Beckham, Michael Phelps. Now lately, I've heard that Ivory Sully has mentioned Tom Brady is wearing our patches, including X39. The Kansas City Chiefs are wearing the patches. So there are a lot of people now familiar, but you're not going to find, I mean, Big Pharma does not want you to know about this, right? This will destroy their business. This gets to the root cause of cellular repair. And all of their medicines just really help symptoms or mask symptoms, but they never really get to the root cause, what caused the problem to begin with, and let's solve the issue. Nothing like optimizing your own body to do that. When you improve energy for people, and you improve sleep, and you improve health, and mental health and physical health, it's like this, it just gets better and better. You know, I wake up before my alarm, I want to go exercise. I exercise, then I feel better. I make better choices with food. I have the energy to go grocery shopping and get healthy things. I have the energy to cook healthy meals instead of ordering something that's not so good. All of the things kind of start adding. You add more water. One of the things that you have to do when you take these patches is you have to drink half your body weight in ounces of water, because you are going to start detoxifying. The X39 increases your glutathione levels by 30% right out of the gate. Glutathione is your body's master antioxidant, so it's boosting your immune system right away, but it is also your body's detox, major detox. And so by increasing your glutathione, your body begins to dump all of these toxins, and you have to drink enough water to flush that out, or it starts to get backed up, floats around, and feels crappy, and you gotta get that flushed. So we do say you have to drink a lot of water, but we even have that glutathione patch. When I was doing, so one of the things I was doing through the pandemic to try to stay well with my 3 autoimmune disorders was taking oral glutathione or getting IV with glutathione. Well, that IV was only improving my glutathione levels by 27% for 7 minutes. This patch increases glutathione 300, your body makes it. So my body makes my glutathione and improves it 300%, and it stays there for 24 hours. The people that live the longest in the world have the highest levels of glutathione. In the blue zones, they
Fascinating.
It's really, really cool. It just does amazing things. And when you wear these 3 for just 2 months, you can knock out spiked proteins. And everyone who's got the vaccination has spiked proteins. And anybody who's gotten COVID has spiked proteins. And anybody who's even had shedding from somebody from the vaccination can have spiked proteins. So what those spike proteins do is they wreak havoc on your gut and your brain and your lungs and your heart. Very big systems, and you really need to get rid of them. If you don't do it this way, do it another way, but get rid of those spike proteins because they have long-term damage effects. So this, in just 2 weeks, 2 months, not 2 weeks, 2 months will knock out those spike proteins.
So you mentioned earlier that people have been taking or been wearing some of the patches for quite some time. One of the things that probably, I'm not going to say probably, but one of the things that can hurt the reputation of an industry or new medical science is that sometimes companies with less than the best intentions will swoop in and try to take advantage of people. You mentioned that this company's been around, it sounds like, for well over 20 years.
20 years this year.
20 years this year. So what is it? Can you tell us a little about the company?
Yeah.
That makes these patches? Just tell us about them just a little bit.
Yeah, I love the company. I have to say, first of all, I've never been in a company where the owner and inventor says, this was an idea divinely inspired and I'm the vessel. I was downloaded from God and I present it to you. He's a very humble man, but he's truly a brilliant scientist. The owner and founder and CEO is the visionary scientist and inventor. I love that. He is really all about helping people reverse age, not about profitability or the business side of it. Although he does that well, he's got good people in place, but he is all about inventing. He's got over 150 patents in anti-aging and regenerative science. He's been on the leading edge of phototherapy for 20 years. We talked about over 90 clinical studies, but he's actually been awarded the Advanced Technology Award from the International Hall of Fame twice. The original patch was developed, he was contracted by the Department of the Defense for U.S. Navy SEALs to help them be able to stay awake and not be on amphetamines around the clock. So this was a way of getting the body to naturally improve their fat burning through mitochondrial cells, right? And so the company founded in 2004. We have offices, labs, and manufacturing in Utah and in California and in Ireland. And there are 15 global distribution centers. We're in over 70 countries.
Wow.
They get mailed to your house. There's no prescription required because there's no side effects, no contraindications. You can take them with any medicine. There's nothing going in the skin. So it's just like in the same general wellness category of a Band-Aid. And that's why we are so easily accessible and affordable. One of the things I love is that, when I was I didn't know what to expect. When you're getting into stem cells, any kind of stem cells, you're talking big money, right? The $10,000 per IV is just a testament of that. And there are people that pay way more than that. This one sleeve of 30 patches, so you wear one 12 hours on and then you take it off. So that's a 30-day supply, is $99. Very, very reasonable and affordable. And there's a money-back guarantee. So it's like, why not try it?
So someone could start taking the patches and they're not satisfied for whatever reason, which can happen with any treatment.
That's
but
right.
Not everyone gives a money-back guarantee. But in this particular case, they're not satisfied. They can get their money back.
Yes, they just, no questions asked. Like, we don't care why you decided, no, it's not for you. The money comes back. So,
and is it something that is it a one and done for 30 days, or is it something that once they start taking it, if they feel better and they feel that it is helping them, that's something they would typically just continue to do over the course of time?
It's a really good question, David. So we recommend a month for every decade you are old to regenerate all of their stem cells. Most people keep on the patch because they still keep seeing benefits. There's this great testimonial, this very dear man, Bob Campbell. He was a mailman. He had 7 foot surgeries, 5 knee surgeries, and he wanted these patches to help with that. Well, what he found was in the first week to 10 days, his energy levels doubled. In the 6 to 7 week time frame, his sleep dramatically improved, and he had sleep issues since being a sophomore. In about the 3.5 month mark, he had prostate cancer, and he had to take a pill to be able to urinate. And he found, and in fact, twice when he hadn't taken that pill, he had ended up in the emergency room. So he was able at the 3.5 month mark to stop taking that pill and never have to take it again. At the 6 month mark, his energy was now through the roof. His sight was improved. His hearing was improved. And he was sleeping now 6 to 6.5 hours straight through for the first time in his life. But he was just like, I want my knees and my feet. This is all about my knees and my feet. And why aren't they better yet? It took 7.5 months. But at the 7.5 month mark, he was out of pain. He didn't have any swelling. He had not been able to wear his wedding ring because of arthritis. He now had, his swelling was gone. He was able to wear his wedding ring. He kept patching. He then found that about 18 to 20 months on the patches, the precancerous scabs that he had on both of his hands, having been a mailman, he had this burned off twice before. He said it just is so painful. He would cry through the whole procedure, and he just didn't want to do it again. He needed to go back and have these burned off, but he just didn't want to. Well, at the 18 to 20 month mark, he doesn't even know when, he looked down and realized they were all gone except one. All of them are still gone now. And then at 3 years on the patch, he discovered he didn't need glasses for the first time since 3rd grade. So, your stem cells can keep going to work for you, but you could just say, I got my stem cells activated. I've done 1 month for every decade I am old. I'm feeling better. I'm going to stop. There's nothing, it's not like you're going to go back to ground zero. Your body has done cellular repair and optimization. It's just going to age now normally. And so one of the things I love about that is, unlike where if you're taking a blood pressure medicine, you take that blood pressure medicine, only when you're taking that medicine is your blood pressure down. And then as soon as you're off, it skyrockets again. So This is actually not like that at all. It is going in and doing cellular repair and rejuvenation and activating those stem cells to get to work for you. So if you stop, you just stop where you are and you start aging again. Nothing, no harm, no foul.
So Darlene, if someone listening to this show, if they want to learn more, or if they would like to reach you, would they reach out to you directly?
Yes, I would love that. My website is iamreverseaging.com. iamreverseaging.com. And there's a place there where it says just contact Darlene, and you'll tell me where you're located, so we got the time zones correctly, because sometimes it's an international audience. And I'll be happy to reach out, and you can see on my website videos on how this works, all of the 90 clinical studies. You can read the patent, you can read the story of X39, you can listen to the inventor talking through how this is working from a very medical perspective. There's like he's talking to practitioners in one of the videos. It's very medical oriented, way above my head, but practitioners really enjoy it. I think I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, I can't validate this, but I've heard 60% of our company are practitioners. So there's 3 of my doctors are using these patches. And I was like, well, why didn't you tell me about them? And one doctor said, doctors get in trouble when we tell people to take vitamin C to prevent viruses these days. We have to be very, very careful.
There have been laws have been passed.
Yes.
Including, like in California, if I understand it was more COVID related, but doctors could get in trouble for even mentioning alternatives to what it was that the AMA was recommending. And a lot of doctors who may have been totally on board with the shots and stuff, they put up red flags like, whoa, wait a minute, you're telling me I'm a doctor and you're telling me I cannot have that conversation with my patient? Now, not every state does that, and we get that, but I can see, just based on what we've heard anecdotally or even through the news, I can understand why some doctors might be concerned of opening up legal issues or getting a phone call from the AMA. So I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but you just you triggered me because when you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, that is a very real problem in this country.
It is a really very real problem, and it makes me very sad because we can't even. I feel like we've got a gag order placed on our doctors, but it was enlightening to me and encouraging to me when I heard that these doctors were using the patches because I did ask the question, have you heard of this? Oh yeah, I've heard of this. I use those patches. What? What? How did you not mention it to me? Well, I don't really sell the patches. I just do the patches. I'm like, okay.
Okay. Well, yeah, that most definitely does happen. So, Darlene, your contact information for the information for our audience will be, everything's going to be in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. You just click the link so you can reach out to Darlene if you wish to explore this this topic further. But, Darlene, this was definitely an eye-opener. I'm not sure how many people know about these types of therapies, but it sounds like it's something that people need to explore. And that's the point of this show, is not to say, well, if you do this, then, if you do X, Y will happen. I think we have to have reasonable expectations. But what we're saying is X exists. Mm-hmm. It's not just, it is like you have an X, Y, and Z, and you have these other options, and being knowledgeable is the best, is you taking charge of your health. And I appreciate you coming on the show and really just, another pun, shedding some light. I'm sure you've heard that 1,000 times.
It's so true, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you having me and all the wisdom that comes from your podcast. Thank you for doing what you're doing in sharing the alternatives, because we really wouldn't have this information and these resources available to us. I would say there are people patching babies to grandparents. The only people that have to be very careful and maybe lock arms with their doctor, David, are people who've had an organ transplant, because if they have an alien organ in their body, what can happen is your immune system is going to skyrocket, and it's going to go up so fast and so high that those, they're typically on immune suppressant drugs. So you'll want to counterbalance the benefits of the immune system boosting and make sure that it's not being boosted too quickly.
So they would want to talk to her, if they're considering this, they would want to talk to their physician.
Yes, and that's not to say that I don't have people that have organ transplants that are on the patches, but they're just working very closely with their doctor to make sure that they're just testing more frequently. In fact, you do want to test frequently, because people find they are off their cholesterol medicines, they're off their blood pressure medicines, they no longer take their thyroid medicine. Lots of medicines change, their A1C drops, they don't need as much insulin. Like, all of these things are dramatically improved. So you'll just need to make sure you're staying on top of your testing, so that you can get those balanced and, eventually potentially come off of them. I really worry about anybody on statins. I think that they're very problematic, and I have 3 doctors that will tell you they think statins are causing the Alzheimer's epidemic in this country.
It's a concern. There are always side effects.
There are always side effects.
And there's things that we know, and there's things that we don't know. And
That's right.
I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories beyond that. But
that's right. But how quick are we? Most people are like, your doctor says to do it, and you do it. Your doctor says take this drug, and you're like, Roger that, I'm on. The doctors are very well versed on the drugs and surgeries, but not on this space.
Absolutely. I personally have been kind of fortunate with my doctors. I actually was taking an over-the-counter drug for something, and my doctor says, you got to stop taking that. I was like, what do you mean? What? It's just an over-the-counter. They're like, no, you need to work on your, take more natural approages. This is the doctor saying this.
Wow.
I was very funny. She was like scolding me. You need to get off that pill.
Fantastic.
You need to, they were like, well, adjust your diet, do this, do that. I was like, well, that was a good doctor. And so there are good doctors out there, and there are great alternative medicines out there. So,
good.
Darlene, thank you very much.
Thank you, David,
for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all that you're doing. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Darlene. What a fascinating conversation. I hope you in the audience, I hope you learned something today. It certainly was fascinating to me, and I feel as though there's a lot more to learn about light therapy. All right, so that is it for this week. Thank you very much for watching and liking and commenting. And please do not forget to press that little button down there. Yeah. Subscribe and press the notification button. That really helps the channel, and it notifies you every time we post new content, which is quite often on this channel. All right, that's it for this week. This is David Maloof signing off, exploring natural approaches to good health. That does it for this episode of Adventures in Good Health. We would like to hear from you regarding this podcast and any suggestions you have for future podcasts. Please subscribe and leave a rating or a review.